Well, hello everyone. How are you all doing? On this fine Sunday. Thank you for the hype train. And also for those of you getting in a very quick start here with the bits and whatnot. Thank you for the 2 months, still octahedron. And 4 months from a problematic banana. 5 months from blue amber. And a Pichu, of course. Thanks for joining for this very good time we're going to have. I think this is going to be cathartic. I've had to spend a lot of time with this Hedgehog. For someone who's not particularly a fan of most anything Sonic, honestly. Is this mainline games only? I think, yeah, I think so. I think we'll keep it limited to that, because otherwise, there's a lot of other games that have Sonic in them. So no Sonic Pinball. Also, because like I have played all of the mainline stuff, at least a little bit. There are a lot of spin-off things I haven't. So my ability to put those on a tier list is going to be challenged somewhat. Hey, thanks for the 5 months. Not so much success. 5 months, almost a year. Right you are. And thank you for the 5 months as well, Grace Parker. I'm very glad you enjoyed the entertainment we provide. And 4 months from Calm Madness as well, and 5 from Vard Northbourne. Thank you very much. Is Smash Ultimate the best Sonic game? I feel like you can't call it a Sonic game if Sonic is just like, if Sonic just happens to be in it, right? Because if we do that, then like Smash Ultimate is the best best game in a lot of franchises. And that feels like stretching the definition a bit. So I'm letting folks filter in here, but we actually do need to decide a little bit together how this is going to go, because we need to decide how we are ranking Sonic games. Do we rank this list by just game quality, or how fun or good I think any given Sonic game is generally, or do we do it specifically on by animation? As I have discussed before, those are extremely different quality ratings. I think I might actually do a poll here, because again, if we're going by, and if we're factoring animation quality in, we have to do one or the other, because there are some games that have really good animation for a Sonic game that I just despise playing. And vice versa, ones that I enjoy playing that don't have particularly good animation in them. So it's I feel like everything would flatten down to the C tier, almost entirely, if we did it that way. So I feel like we gotta, and maybe we can do both. I am on board with doing both. We can do one then the other. Because that way, maybe certain games that okay, that's what we'll do. We'll start by ranking them by their, just how much I like them. I think how good of game I think they are. And then if we got some steam still going, we can do a second pass where we talk about the animation in them, because that'll give some of the ones that I talk a lot of trash at in the first half maybe a chance to get some compliments. That is a lot of Pichu, though. That is a fair point. We do already have an hour-long video talking about the animation quality. I know there's a couple more games here in this ranking that I didn't talk about, in that video. I don't think it significantly alters. It's all that different from what the video contains. So if you want to hear me talking about the animation for an hour and 45 minutes, then I have a video for that on YouTube called The Animation of Sonic Games. It is longer than either Sonic film. Like, I don't know if that's something to be proud of or not, but it is. Speaking of, okay, this delighted me. I recently heard from somebody who just works at Paramount who wanted to let me know that Sonic video is referenced and shared around pretty constantly, both by the Sonic film teams and Sonic TV show teams, just to like kind of get animators up to speed on like Sonic animation history. And that is maybe one of the most flattering things I've ever heard. Like, I am legitimately super flat. Like, that's incredible. What an honor. I'm excited to see what the next, like, those Sonic movies have turned out a lot better than any of us had reason to believe. Like, they're quite fun little movies. I'm excited to see what how the third one turns out, whenever that happens. And apparently the new show is fun too. I've not seen anything of it, but it looks like Sonic Prime, I think it's what it's called. Apparently that's good. Hey, thank you for the 4 months, Jaffa Tries. Sonic Adventure AT are calling it now. We'll see. And thank you for gifting that sub there. Not so much success. Much appreciated. Okay, so yeah, Sonic Prime is really good. Cool. Yeah, I've been hearing that too from my, like, Sonic-liking friends. Okay. Here, let me make sure we're all set up here to get this started. And I think we are. I got us a playlist going of just some good Sonic music from all the different games. Because, man, at least that. Like, I may not like a lot about Sonic games or Sonic most things, but music in Sonic games, 95% of the time, rules. Even in the Sonic games that you don't like. Oh boy. Thank you for the 5 months, Arc Flash Hazard. That is so amazing. People who make their livelihoods on perpetuating the Sonic franchise think your work is valuable and important. That's high praise indeed and well deserved. That's kind of you to say. And yeah, you're right. Like that, I think that is why it feels so flattering. It's like, well, these people are like actually working on these things that like even if I'm not a huge fan of it, like they value like anytime like a peer in your own field finds value in something you've made, that is always like really incredible, like an incredibly good and flattering feeling. And so like I'm very thrilled that they that someone reached out to let me know that, because boy, that really made my week. Thank you for the 5 months, Buffy McBuffalo, and you're welcome for doing a Europe friendly stream time. I want to do that sometimes. My schedule doesn't allow for it very often, but I want to try. Okay, we've got a lot of Sonic games to talk about here. Let's shift over. So here we are.
Yeah!
Are we going to include the Shadow game in this? I think we should. I think that, yeah, that's a Sonic game, for sure. Some people argue that Sonic Boom, including the main wiki, like the wiki calls Sonic Boom a spin-off game, and I feel like that's debatable. I guess it depends on how we're categorizing, but that Sonic Boom doesn't feel like that far of any more of a diversion from Sonic form than like Sonic Heroes or Shadow the Hedgehog or plenty of other just kind of like actual like Sonic Lost World, any of these others. This will be mostly mainline Sonic games, almost exclusively, or maybe exclusively, I guess. Do the Rush games count? I say that, yeah, I'm counting them in here. This doesn't feel like enough tiers. You think Sonic goes lower than F? Yeah! Well, it's fair enough, but like I kind of agree, which is why there's not an S rank here. If we were talking about animation, when we talk about the animation, the S rank will come back. But like, I feel like that was kind of necessary. Like, if I wanted to be really mean about it, I'd also have there not be an A rank, but I don't think that's entirely true. And I think that within the context of Sonic games, we should, like, there needs to be the A there. Like, if we're talking about Sonic games, or like for me, in my opinion, because this is subjective, obviously, if we're talking about my opinion of Sonic games compared to like other video games, then like no Sonic game would hit higher than a B. Because like, I really don't tend to favor them. But within the context of Sonic games, like, I think like some of them definitely deserve to have that. We need to have a range, right? But so yeah, and especially because now we're talking like with once we're talking about the animation, I feel like I can be speaking with a little bit more authority, and there's still subjectivity to that, obviously, inherently, but I can give a slightly more objective rating and perspective. I'm gonna be trying to rate the games with their quality like a little fairly, like recognizing where something's just not to my tastes or not, but I think it's gonna be pretty impossible for me to not just mostly be going from opinion on this one. So those of you who like Sonic, I do apologize in advance. This is not probably, we're probably not gonna align a lot on this one. But that is nothing, like that is in no way a criticism of you or your taste or like your taste in games. Lots of people who lots of people and like game designers and game makers who I respect immensely, like adore a lot of Sonic games and consider them like brilliant. And so like this is very much a subjective thing. Hold on now. We were about to get started here and then suddenly let me back up a bit. Thank you, Artematthew, for the 5 months. Thank you, TS Terrapin, also for the 5 months. You appreciate the unimpressed Sonic Dan art in the corner of the ranking. It felt like it belonged. And thank you very much, Bahabali, for all those gift subs there. That's really kind and generous of you. Enjoy the emotes, everyone. There's so much Pichu. Thank you to Dan Jones again for that stellar art of my character in a Sonic hoodie. I'm glad we keep on having, like, half the reason I need to keep on playing Sonic games on Playframe now and then is just so we can get that, like, get that art back out and on a thumbnail. It's too good. And thank you for the 4 months, account made for ants. Okay, we're doing this. So, first game, Sonic 1. Where is it? I really wish that tiermaker.com would keep the entries below in order a little better so you could find them easier. But, okay. I feel like on a range from A to F, which is what we've got here, I feel like Sonic 1 is a C, fun-wise. If we're just counting, and here's the other thing that's kind of worth pointing out. If we're talking the fun level of any given Sonic game, the first zone or first level, that is like always 2 letter grades higher. And then as soon as you get to the successive ones, oftentimes it drops. Because Green Hill Zone is quite fun in Sonic 1. And then as soon as you get to the next one, which was like, what, Mystic Mountain, or it's like, as soon as you get to the next one, suddenly all the fun goes away. Because it immediately gets back, Marble Zone, that's what it's called, thank you, that's the name of the thing. Because like Marble Zone is full of tons of like, stop and wait for the platform, jump on this thing, wait for it to carry you a place, wait for this platform to line up for this thing. Like, you can't run anymore. And later levels aren't considerably better. That's kind of another thing that I find frequently, even in the Sonic games that I find I am enjoying, and usually this is the case with the 3D ones. I can be having a pretty good time with like the first third or half of it, but then as soon as they start trying to ramp up the difficulty, the jank and the flaws in the design either of Sonic's movement or the level design start going from being kind of like minor nuisances to being a real problem. That won't be an issue really until we start getting to the 3D ones more, but yeah, I feel like Sonic 1 kicks things off to a good start, and really good start on the animation front, but as a game, yeah, that's about as good as it's getting. Let's see. Now, Sonic 2 is going to have to wait a bit because we've also got some Game Gear games, like Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear, which is like maybe a high F or a low D. Like, they're impressive in that they are a Sonic game kind of running on Game Gear and working kind of reasonably decent. You know what? We'll say a low D because some of the other Game Gear games need room to go lower. Is this ranking in the context of Sonic games or in the context of games in general? It's mostly in the context of Sonic games. If it was ranking games in general, again, for me, I don't think any Sonic game would rank higher than a B. But to reflect that sort of curve a little bit, that's also why I don't have an S tier here. We're just topping off at A, because in my opinion, an S tier Sonic game does not yet exist. I would love for one to. And there are some, I think, games that, even if they're not to my taste, are like, I think there's plenty of games you could argue are, like, make a very good argument for being an S-tier Sonic game. But this is, like, my list, my opinion, right? So. Let's see. All right, now for the... It's weird that that Sonic 2 for the Game Gear came out first, right? And where is it in this mass of tiny little thumbnails down here? I'll find it. Hold on. There you are. Yeah, this one's terrible. Sonic 2 on the Game Gear is awful. Again, most of the Game Gear ones are pretty rough. They are really chuggy. Goodness gracious. Thank you very much, those of you who are subscribing and gifting subs and whatnot, and keeping this hype train going for an unreasonable length of time. Thank you very much for the 5 months. Lost you. Landis Maximus, thank you for that. And 4 months for account made for ants. The S in S tier stands for Sonic. All Sonic games are Sonic. Easiest tier on the list of my life. There you go. So all Sonic games are simultaneously S tier and whatever tier I'm about to put them in. Both. Thanks for the 3 months, JPost42, and 3 months for Mr. Phillip as well. Happy to catch a stream from my favorite Sonic superfan. That's fair. Thank you for gifting those 5 subs, Thanosi. That's also very kind and generous of you. 3 months from Sympathy Plan, and goodness, you guys. 4 months from Slacker Alex. Thank you very much. Dan, I'm not a big fan of Sonic Floyd doing another Sonic stream. That's hype train worthy. Fair enough. I can't really come up with a good argument, like, to disprove your point.
Yeah!
Well timed. Okay. Now we can get to Sonic 2, and this one, I think, like, it may get bumped down a little bit later, but I think Sonic 2 deserves a solid A. Sonic 2 is pretty strong. Like, even after you get past level 1, still pretty fun, actually. Like, it's got some parts of different levels that I'm like, boy, I don't like this part very much. And I think as we round this list out, some of the things are going to get shuffled, and I could see Sonic 2 kind of dropping to a high B, but I think 2 deserves, like, to be up there. 2's strong. Not to my tastes. Like, it's not a game that I'd feel like, oh man, I'm in the mood to play Sonic 2, but I'm never in the mood to play a Sonic game just for funsies. But, like, I think that one deserves it. Now, Sonic CD is weird. but kind of fun. I think I like it a little better. I think it simply being, just by virtue of it being easier than a lot of other Sonic games of this era, it just kind of like goes down smoother on a first time play and is less frustrating, but it is also like like the time travel mechanic is weirdly baffling. Like if you don't have an instruction manual or something and you're just diving in, the past, future, present get up to a certain speed and you get bumped like to a new I feel like it's a high C. It's a higher C than Sonic the Hedgehog Sonic 1. Or maybe a low B, but I think we need to clear some room here. There is Tiny Sonic in this one. That's a good point. You're right, it's a B. Tiny Sonic is in Sonic CD, and Tiny Sonic's great. I can't believe Tiny Sonic isn't in more Sonic games. Why isn't there more Tiny Sonic? Thank you for the King of All Cosmos back there, by the way. And also for 4 months, Vandabeast, and 5 months from Kaineko-kun. Thanks for joining. All right, now we're back to the Game Gear again. And this one's gonna be easy as soon as I can find, there you are. Sonic Chaos is also not particularly fun. It's not very good. Like, again, the Game Gear games are all pretty, like, I guess at the time, if you were on the go, and like it was the only way you could play a Sonic game, then sure. It's probably better than Sonic 2 on Game Gear. Sonic 2 on Game Gear is not is not great at all. But still, not great. Yeah, thanks for the 5 months, Arimnon. Thank you very much. Okay. Sonic 3 is tricky, actually. I don't know where I'd want to put Sonic 3. I don't think it's as A tier as Sonic 2. I think it's like a high B. I think I can live in a high B for now. Is this with or without Knuckles? I guess this is without Knuckles. Let's do them both at the same time. Sonic and Knuckles also good. Also, like, they belong side by side. And it's cool that Sonic and Knuckles, like, just retroactively also throw, like, the fact that you could do this, add a cartridge expansion that also makes Knuckles work in a previous game that was not built to, like, accommodate another character being in it. That it just, you could have another cartridge that one plugs into and then that works, is some weird retro console magic. It's, yeah, like retroactive DLC is, but in a time where you can't actually like go in and change without any code changing on the original cartridge, is batty. Okay, thanks for subscribing, Kitten Tales. Welcome. Yeah, Sonic & Knuckles is essentially Sonic 3 Part 2. It's like, you could argue it's either just a direct sequel follow-up that just adds more, or it is just the rest of Sonic 3. In either case, solid B on the Sonic scale. Now, Sonic Triple Trouble also belongs down here. It is not good. Again, like Game Gear games, but these things chug. They really don't run especially well. They're doing their best, but it's, man. Actually, here, I will bump Triple Trouble at least to the top of this list here. Actually, no, I will bump Triple Trouble up because we need some more room on F tier for some of the stuff that's coming later. Because, yeah, this F tier is going to get a little crowded otherwise. Yeah, thanks for the 4 months, The Real Sugar Joe. Yeah, maybe I should have had just 2 F tiers so we had more room. We'll figure it out. Who's next? Knuckles Chaotix is... Knuckles Chaotix is one that, like, on the animation scale, I will rate pretty highly, but on the, like, is a video game scale, it's not very good. The mechanic of, like, kind of springboarding, like 2 characters who are tethered together and using that tether to get speed and move around is cool. Like, it's a really cool idea that is fun to, like, fiddle around with and play around with. Like, it's neat getting yourself built up to speed or figuring out how to navigate a little bit of terrain. Like, in isolated moments, it's very cool. But the level design in Knuckles Chaotix is kind of abysmal, and I just found myself in Knuckles Chaotix, like, just wandering aimlessly until I happened to find an exit. I never had any idea where I was, or where I was supposed to be going, or I was just trying to move until I found an end of something. And it's not a... I don't think it's a very good game, actually, but the mechanic of... The tether mechanic is cool, though. And it felt kind of cool, and I wish that it had a better game around it. Now, we've got another extreme F tier on every front coming up here. And that is Sonic Blast for the Game Gear. This, like, I really hate this one. On every axis. This one's terrible. Plays terrible, looks terrible, is no good. Yes, this is the one with the pre-rendered graphics. It's basically, there's, you know, Sonic 3D Blast, which had the pre-rendered graphics? It's that, except it runs on the Game Gear, and it's a 2D Sonic game, so there's not even a good reason to do the pre-rendered graphics. They, like, rather than just having sprites, the classic sprites, they did the pre-rendered graphics, but on a Game Gear, so they're lower resolution, chunkier, and still just as badly posed and animated. Like, Sonic's board fidget pose is unreadable. It is completely, like, it is... Hang on, let me see if I can get the sprite really fast. This is gonna take a few minutes. So I'm finding the sprite and putting it on screen so y'all can look at this and reckon with, like, how abysmal this is. Sonic Blast sprite. I'll find it. Hold up. Well, thank goodness for Spriter's resource, huh? What a good website. Hey, did y'all know that Mark Brown of Game Maker's Toolkit made that site? I didn't know that until, like, a couple of years ago. I've been using it for years.
Yeah!
All right, hold on. I'm gonna go to a BRB screen real fast so I can pull this up. Spriter's resource, Sonic Blast. Grabbing it quickly. Hopefully. Sorry for the delay here. Hold up. All right. That's the screen you're actually supposed to be on. But, okay. Are you seeing this? Can you tell me what this pose is? It does look like he's flipping you off, right? Like, that's not what's supposed to be happening. I think he's supposed to be, like, tapping the side of his face.
Yeah!
Or something. But this is, like, this is very bad. The, like, silhouette is nothing. Like, this is... If you just completely made this a silhouette, just like a dark shape over a white background, it would be, like, you would kind of get the spikes, and none of the rest of this would read at all. It is... The legs are, like, yes, this leg is down and flat, and I think the other is meant to be sort of, like, bent and crossed a little bit. The other hand is kind of back there. You can sort of see, like, who knows what this hand is doing? It might as well just be flipping you off, because I think, like, that's the best I can guess. It's like, it's very bad. It's, it's not good. But okay. Let me get switched back there. Okay. It doesn't really read as the middle finger to me either. I don't think that's actually what's happening there. But, like, if maybe that is meant to be sort of like the wagging index finger at you, like he sort of does in the title screen of some of those early Sonic games. I could actually... That's probably the right guess. That's probably what it's trying to read as. But the fact that you can't tell it, even a little bit, it looks awful. It's like, I don't know why in a 2D game... They were already having a hard enough time on the Game Gear making Sonic's animation work, but they were making it work. They were actually on an 8-bit system making 16-bit, like converting the 16-bit animation and pixel art for Sonic into something that you could read and still convey the same amount of character and the same like poses and everything, and making that work. And then they just threw all that away for Sonic Blast using like images of a 3D model that were not posed, that were just posed terribly and like pixel crunched down into an unreadable state. Just rough. Okay, let's stop ranting on that one for a bit and instead rant on this one, which is just a high F. Because Sonic 3D Blast is only slightly better. Which is not really a credit to 3D Blast. That's really just more condemnation of Sonic Blast on Game Gear. Sonic 3D Blast, like, I get literally motion sick playing Sonic 3D Blast. Which doesn't feel like it should happen. It looks bad, it plays bad, is not good. As I said, this stream is going to be very cathartic for me. Because I spend a lot of time with Sonic games, and mostly I've just talked about the animation in them. And I try to not be, like, I generally try to not be mean. And I'm still not, like, I'm not wanting to just completely dunk on or, like, spout bile toward these things. But I am wanting to express feelings of frustration. And this is definitely not meant to, like, be, like, criticism of the people involved in making these things. I know how hard making games is. And I know how hard some of this tech could be. Like, 3D tech in this time was not brand new, but it was definitely challenging and still pretty new in the realm of games. So there weren't a lot of people who knew how to really work in 3D yet. There wasn't a lot of experience there. Thank you for the 5 months, by the way, Louis Hansen. Okay. What is next in this? I think we're up to... Oh, okay. Yes. Yes, indeed. Also. No, wait, well, above that, but, like, come on. I don't think Sonic Adventure is very good. I don't know, like, like I fully understand there are lots of people who have a lot of fondness for nostalgia. Listen, I have nostalgia for things too. I totally get it, and that there's nothing wrong with that either. But I think Sonic Adventure is like the only thing separating Sonic Adventure from Sonic 2006 is one's a little buggier, and it like is on a higher fidelity console, like with higher fidelity graphics, which makes janky stuff look more noticeable and seem more bad. But that's kind of about it. Sonic Adventure is really miserable to play. Sonic R is a racing game, so I'm not, and that's one that I am willing to call a spin-off. Do you have any impressions on the 3D and the canceled Sonic Extreme game for the Saturn? I mean, that looked rough too. Like I've not gotten to play it, obviously, and I've only just seen a little bits of clips and things, but yeah, it definitely looked like they were struggling to figure out how Sonic in 3D was going to work, and they kept struggling with that for a long time. But okay. Sonic Adventure 2 is... I am struggling to decide. I'll... It's in the realm of C and D, but I'm not sure exactly where. Sonic Adventure 2 has some levels that are... You know what? All right, well, we'll... For the same reason that Sonic is here, Sonic Adventure 2 I will allow to go here too, because there are some levels that are legitimately fun. That first Sonic level of snowboarding down San Francisco Street is legit. That's a good level. That's fun. And then there are other levels that are much less so. Like, I can't remember all the levels in Sonic Adventure 2, and like I know in this one it's a different structure, right? This one doesn't have Sonic Adventures overworld where you have to go find the levels and do various things. It's just here's a succession of levels for each character. I feel like the military base level for Sonic is decent and solid. That like Jungle Escape one is rough, though, and then a lot of the later ones are also quite rough. It's a pretty hard time. And yes, this is the one with the Chow Garden, which is not something that appeals to me, and the character animation for all of the playable characters dips big time as soon as you go in there, because that's the only place they really walk much, and every character's walk cycle and everything is very bad. But the Chow Garden as a concept I think is cool, and I'm honestly, like, not to my taste, but is a cool thing that I'm surprised they never went back to ever. I guess they kind of did in one of them, right? One of like Sonic Rush, maybe one of them has it or something. Or Sonic Advance? One of them has a Chow Garden. Sonic Advance 2? But I think it's like a different like it works differently there, right? I feel like the Chow Garden is something that should come back. I feel like that still has a fan base that would have a good time with just a straight up just Chow Garden game. I'm gonna do that. Someone said stretch and hydrate like a long time ago. I'm gonna do that now. It's a good idea. Stretches. Man, it's still nice. It's fun listening to all this Sonic music, though. It's also good. turning it up a little bit. It's gonna pick up on the mic more, but that's fine. I want to be able to hear it. Okay. But yeah, right? Like, a Chow Garden... There's so many things you could do with a Chow Garden game. Like, either on mobile, or, like, as a little Switch title or something. It wouldn't have to be a big, huge production. It could just be a pretty small budget mobile title, or Switch title, and boom. Some people would be way into that. Let's see. Sonic Advance is... You know, not a favorite, but it's fine. It's kind of how I feel about all the Sonic Advance games, mostly. I'm trying to think now. It's either 2 or 3 that I actually dislike much more strongly, because I feel like the level design stuff suffered a good bit. Let's be honest, there are people who don't like Sonic who would still swoon over a Chow game. I think you're right. Like, there's a market for that kind of, like animal, like, raising, breeding, like, kind of thing. Like, there's not a lot of games, really, that appeal to that market, but that market, like they go deep. They love it. Man, Sonic Unleashed's music is very good. Okay, yeah, thanks for subscribing, Deep Plume. Appreciate it. And for the 5 months, Reika. Let's see now. Sonic Advance 2. I wish I could remember whether... I think they're all just going to kind of live up here, honestly. I'll skip ahead and just go ahead and put Sonic Advance 3 in there as well. Like, they're all fine. I know I bounced off one of them a good bit harder because of some of their, like, either 2 or 3 because of some of the early levels design stuff that I was not a huge fan of, but I think they're, like, I think they all are fine in that realm. I'm glad I say your name correctly. That is so often not the case when I try for various names. Okay, now we're to Sonic Heroes, which is... I feel like Heroes is... okay? I really like the first level a lot of Heroes. And the concept of having kind of like a group of 3 where you're like kind of swapping forms to be good, to have different movement, is kind of cool. Maybe let's call this a low C though, because like the further you get into the game, the more frustrating it gets, the more like the rougher around the edges things get. Heroes is fun until you want to beat it. That's a good way to put it. Honestly, that's how I feel about almost every 3D Sonic game. Mostly, not all of them, but mostly. But Heroes is definitely in that ballpark. Yen is using this list as a way to decide which Sonic game to play first, and if you don't love it, you get to blame me. That's fair, but honestly, I think, actually, as someone who does not like Sonic, I feel like I'm weirdly well-positioned to recommend which Sonic games you should try first, to see if you like them. So actually, I think what this A tier ends up being, I think any one of these games up here would be a solid place to start, to try out. And actually, it'd probably be good to try out several of them, because they all are such wildly different games. But okay, the next one is Shadow the Hedgehog, which is... I feel like I'm going to give that one a high D, maybe. for play. Yeah, so like a high D for Shadow, because on one hand, it is more playable than most of the early 3D Sonic games because Shadow can't move as fast. He's slower, and thus you can control him. And that helps, that helps immensely with actually just moving the character around. The level design and the design of the game, where you are having to complete different tasks in a level to move on, is cool. So the cool thing about Shadow the Hedgehog, if you don't know, is that it has a wildly branching path. In every single level, you have 3 objectives you can do. You can do one that is just get to the end of the level, which is neutral. You have one that is the, you have a Paragon and Renegade choice also, too, basically. You have a Paragon choice, which is basically completing a mission that a good Sonic character tells you to do, and thus being sort of heroic. And then there is the Renegade choice, which is doing something the villain character wants you to do, which is more villainous. And depending on which one you do, you will go to one of 3 next levels, basically. And there's a whole web of levels that you can go through that your path through that game can be very different. One playthrough won't take you super long. It'll probably only take 5, 6 levels total, but any one of those second, third, or fourth levels, there could be there's 4 or 5 different options you could go through for any one of those. It's pretty wild. So that is cool in concept. The problem is any task that is more involved than just finishing the level sucks. It is find and kill every single one of this enemy, or collect every single one of this, collect all of these emeralds that are hidden in the level. They are not fun to do across the board. It's still not a very good game, but I would sooner play it than several others. Now we are up to Sonic Rush, which I think Sonic Rush below. Hello. Oh, goodness. We have been raided. Okay, this can wait. We've been raided. Hello. Hello, dear bits and friends. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. We're ranking Sonic games. And fair warning, I'm not a huge fan of Sonic games, so that's probably why this is looking a little bottom heavy right now. Thank you for joining, though. My name's Dan. I'm a professional game animator, and I make a lot of videos on the internet about game animation. I have a channel called New Frame Plus and a Let's Play channel called Playframe. I created extra credits back in the day. I've been doing this stuff a long time. But we're talking about Sonic games and just having some fun, listening to some good Sonic music and rating Sonic games. Right now we're rating them based on just the fun of the game. We'll rate them by animation later, which is a wildly different ranking. But yeah, welcome. Hey, dear bits, what were y'all doing before? What was happening before you came here? Potionomics. Yay. Oh, good choice. You're spending your time much better than me. Excellent choice. But welcome. Thank you for the raid, and welcome everyone. Welcome to us talking about Sonic games and just getting some catharsis. Or getting very frustrated, depending on whether you like or dislike Sonic games. Is being gay related to Potionomics? I think being gay is core to Potionomics as an experience. Or if you are not gay, getting to experience the joy of it secondhand. It's a beautifully animated game, and it is it's fun. Definitely recommend looking it up. Reika, if you watch my favorite game animation of 2023 video, it's in there because the animation's great, and that'll give you a quick look at what all there is to enjoy. Is good. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, also we played it, we did a one-off of it on Playframe, so that'll give you more of a taste of what the actual game is. So, Sonic Rush though, that's where we were. Sonic Rush, I feel like Sonic Rush is a song. I would put it at a high D, but I'm going to bump it up to a C just because of the soundtrack, which is by Hideki. You know the composer of Jet Set Radio? That composer did the soundtrack for Sonic Rush, and it sounds like a Jet Set Radio soundtrack, and it turns out that's a perfect soundtrack for Sonic. The music rocks. Hang on, I think I've got a Sonic Rush track in this playlist somewhere. Hang on, let me find it. Much as I hate skipping off of this very good Sonic Colors music. Let me find it. Okay, I think this is like a cover of it. Hang on, no, I'll find a better one. Here we go. It's very Jet Set Radio. Naganuma Hideki, thank you very much. Now this was... Keep in mind, this was coming out of Nintendo DS speakers, so it probably didn't sound as great. And it probably was compressed to heck. But, any game soundtrack by that composer you're gonna have a good time. I don't enjoy playing it that much though, honestly. I think the dual screen nature of it, which is cool, kind of hurts it a bit. Having there be a little bit of negative space between the visible level between screens feels a little disorienting to me. Okay, Freebio, Sonic R is not going to be... We're not doing spin-offs here, or most spin-offs anyway, so Sonic R won't be on the list, also because I've not had a chance to play that one. But I have heard good things. A lot of fans like Sonic R, and it makes sense that Sonic racing games, historically, the ones I have played are actually really strong. Like, Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed is actually great. That's a great racing game. Also, Will's in it, which is weird. So... Next. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Everyone, it's time. I don't... Yeah, we have to put... It has to be F tier. There's no way we can... Like, we can't fool ourselves. On the one hand, if you've got to play Sonic 2006, like, there are a lot of bad Sonic games, all right? There are a lot of bad Sonic games. Of all the bad Sonic games to play, this is the one most likely to make you laugh. Oh yeah, we have a new cheer alert that is Sonic, which is appropriate. Sonic 06 is, you know what? Just because the F tier is getting crowded, I would rather go back and play Sonic 06 for a little while and just laugh at all the like things that are not working, than plenty of other Sonic games that are just miserable to play or boring, or just bad in a boring way. It's not really a D tier game, but it's kind of getting like falsely inflated for the comedy appeal. Like in this one, at least you can run around Soliana, that real off-brand Final Fantasy city, and constantly hear Tails dying behind you because Tails can't platform over the water. And you can kind of imagine banjo pause music in your head every single time you go to a load screen, which is half of your time playing the game. You can look at these really bad cutscenes that are just clunky as all heck. You can just enjoy the animation breaking constantly. Like, you can at least have some fun. You can have a Riff Tracks good time with Sonic 06, which you absolutely can't with so many other bad Sonic games. And yeah, honestly, without the loading screens, I don't know if it really deserves being up at a D. Like, so many of the bugs there are a lot of bugs in Sonic 06. You will die and fall through the level, or just die for no reason so often in so many of these stages. There are some stages that are just so hard to get through, and not because it's your fault, just because the game just isn't up to the task. It's no use. There's no better catchphrase than Silver's. That's... Is that Silver actually saying it's no use, or is it Sonic? That it's no use! I know it's Silver grabbing you. It's Silver saying it? Okay. Because that line works from either character in that context. Anyway, yeah, that is the best that, like, Sonic 06, like, I'm being charitable here, but I've got a soft spot for it where I absolutely don't for the next one. Sonic and the Secret Rings, you are right down here. Not fun. I would play Sonic Adventure over... I don't like Sonic Adventure almost at all. I would play Sonic Adventure over Secret Rings any day. Just neither of those storybook kind of Wii games. Is it best left, worst right within a tier? That's kind of what I'm doing. I don't know what like the standard is, but I'm figuring, yeah, like the further we are to the left on any given tier, the better it is in that tier. Like, Sonic and the Secret Rings is like the polar opposite. Like, both it and Sonic 06 are bad Sonic games. Sonic 06 is like bad fun. Sonic and the Secret Rings is just bad, boring, miserable. It's not a good time. Still good music. Like, it's got some good music in it. Not the most, like, even as Sonic music goes, it's pretty, like, okay, but it's got some catchy stuff in it. But yeah, not fun. Don't recommend. Sonic Rush Adventure, I also don't love. Although, like, I feel like I want to give... I don't have strong feelings about Sonic Rush Adventure, I'll be honest. I do like some of the, like, more nuanced, like, controls and mechanics and stuff that Sonic can do. Like, some of the movement is a little more, like... It's a 2D Sonic game, but it's using more of, like, some of the moves that Sonic, like, 3D stuff added. Oh, no, are we already full on the C tier? We're just gonna have to zoom out, aren't we? To make this work. Hang on, I'll figure this out. Give me a second. Let's see. Sorry, improvising. It's not buying us a lot of room, but here, yeah, we'll get some more of the list down below too. That'll help. There we go. Okay. Saved it. No S tier? No, there's not. Listen, as soon as an S tier Sonic game comes out, I'll add a tier for it. The Hedgehog can have it when he's earned it. Now, if we're later on after this, when we're ranking them by animation, the S tier's coming back because some of them absolutely are. Like, I'm already grading on a curve here a little bit because I don't actually, in my, like, if we're comparing it to Sonic games to other games, I don't think I'd rank any Sonic game higher than a B either, but, like, we'll grade on a bit of a curve here, and I know that I want to account a little bit for my own just personal bias and subjectivity there. Some Sonic games are absolutely, you can make good arguments for a lot of Sonic games being A or S tier, I think. This is my opinion, though. Oh, yeah. I know that my opinion about Sonic Adventure being in the F tier is not widely shared. It's certainly not amongst Sonic fans, but yeah, I don't think That one was just very frustrating an experience. So, Sonic Unleashed is next, and I think this is like a really high B. I think Sonic Unleashed is a really high B. Because Sonic, like, these Sonic levels in Sonic Unleashed are the first time 3D Sonic actually works. Really. Like, we get glimpses of it in Sonic Adventure 2 when the level design allows for it. But the level design rarely allows for it. Again, like, City Escape rules, but that's one of the only really good levels, I think, in Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Unleashed, though, like, most of the time when you're being, like, Sonic running, most of those levels are actually quite fun. They're solid. Now that I'm caught up on Kingdom Hearts, would I do a ranking of Kingdom Hearts games? I'd be down for that, yeah. Totally. Maybe we'll do that with the next one. That'll be the next time we do rankings. And honestly, like, the Hedgehog levels are not the worst. They're just bland. They're repetitive and kind of boring. They're not, like, broken miserable. Like, compared to really bad 3D Sonic stuff, Hedgehog play is totally fine. It's just not as fun as running Sonic, which is itself, like, kind of a testament to, like, how they finally nailed running Sonic levels. Like, because running Sonic level design seems really like a challenging thing to pull off. You'd think just standard, like, hack and slash 3D action game would be a lot easier to do. And the fact that it's like that the running stuff is actually more fun is, like, kind of a compliment in a way. But yeah, and the music's great, and I'm thrilled with. I adore Unleashed for being, like, on an animation, like, front. I adore Unleashed for being the game that finally makes 3D Sonic work and not look awful. But only half of the game is fun. Is all that fun? Sonic and the Black Knight is down here as well, and I'll bump it over Secret Rings only because the music is better. But I also feel like there are... Actually, no, I was more miserable with the play of this one. Well, they're both... The music's better. The boss fights and such, like, there are levels in Black Knight that are frustrating as all get out. Like, I don't know if another... Like, in getting footage for all these games for that Sonic video, I don't think I got mad at a Sonic game nearly as much as, like, at any other one as I did at these two. But there's some legit great music in Sonic and the Black Knight. I like it a lot. Like, they go for this weird medieval vibe, introducing for various tracks. That's really, like, nice. It's sort of like Green Sleeves-y kind of sounding guitar stuff for menus that is really cool. But, like, fighting the mounted, like, I think King Arthur, like, the knight guy, like, chasing him and trying to catch up with him and hit him, like, that, I hate that fight a lot. And the sword, like, the sword does not make Sonic and the Black Knight better. It makes it worse. Not a fan.
Yeah!
Boy, like, F tier's having a time around here, huh? We are getting a little bottom heavy here. Sonic 4, Episode 1, also quite bad. Would you feel that if they ever had Sonic join the Kingdom Hearts series, would they make a fun Sonic world or game? I think, yeah, they would actually... I think they would actually, yeah, make a pretty fun... I don't know how Sonic it would be to play, because, like, you'd still be playing Sora and Donald and Goofy, right? But I absolutely want to see Sonicized Donald and Goofy. Are you kidding me? And The music would probably rock. You'd be running around a Sonic-looking world, but still kind of playing as Kingdom Hearts Sora, and they'd probably give you something to allow you to go super fast or have some levels for it, and they'd probably make that really fun, because Kingdom Hearts gameplay, for the most part, is always pretty darn solid fun. Yeah, actually, Donald and Goofy probably don't need to change, do they? What they'd have to do is they'd have to make Sora look all weird and uncanny, so that he looks like a human in a 3D Sonic game. Sonic 4... Yeah, but Sonic 4 is, like, on animation front, awful, and play is just very boring and not all that fun either. Episode 2 of it is a bit better.
Yeah!
And, like, it has to go above Sonic 06 because it's... And, I'd probably put it above Triple Trouble for my part as well, honestly. But... It's... I don't know. I just still don't care for it. I think it's pretty hard to save that episode 1 effort a bit. It is probably a better game than Knuckles Chaotix, though. Like, legit, I like Knuckles Chaotix more because I think like the tether play is interesting and kind of cool, and the animation is a lot better. But I think, like, objectively speaking, Sonic 4 is a better game. Like, the levels in Sonic 4, it's hard to do worse than the level design of Knuckles Chaotix. I like Knuckles Chaotix more, but I feel like that's reasonable. Okay, Reika, that's a very good joke. Furso, Fursora, and Fursoga is a very good Final Fantasy spell name in Sonic World. That's very good. That got me. That was very good. I've fallen behind on thanking a couple of people. Hold up. Thank you, Petite Bloom, for the 3 months. Thank you very much, Modown Joe, as well, for 3 months. And also 5 months from Cap Steph Barnes. Thank you very much. Happy 5 months. Want to get some froyo? I haven't had actual frozen yogurt in a long time. I could go for some frozen yogurt right now. I'll settle for water, but frozen yogurt sounds actually pretty good. Welcome, Neutron Star Merger. How am I today? Doing pretty good. I've had a long week. I'm worn out, which is why we're doing kind of just a chill, let's just chat and rag on Sonic for a little while. But doing all right. All right. Ooh, guys, we're getting to a good one. We're at a good one now. Guess what? We're at a good one. Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors is good. And I like, this is, okay, so now we get to the kind of weird thing. I like, when Sonic 3D gameplay is good, I think I enjoy it a lot more than Sonic 2D. And that feels weird even to me. But I think I just don't favor, personally, like the momentum-based platforming of 2D Sonic. I think it just doesn't appeal to me as much as a 2D platformer type. But like when 3D is working, just the appeal of just go fast down a track, like that can feel quite good. So far I'd say Sonic Colors is like, of the ones we've been through so far, Sonic Colors is up at the top. Colors is great. Soundtrack rocks. And a lot of the levels are really fun. As you get toward the end, some of that sort of like janky, like the bit of Sonic 3D jank that is in there, and the level design not being top notch, like some of that frustration starts emerging. But Colors is good. Colors is unleashed, but it's all fast Sonic running levels. So all the best parts of Unleashed and just a full game of it. And really fun, like, level theming, too. Like, it's all, you're in a theme park, so, like, all the levels are kind of, like, fun, gimmicky concepts like that. I don't know. Colors is good. It's a shame that Colors Ultimate, like, that the port was not great. I wish that the port was better, because Colors deserves better. Okay. Ooh, oh, and oh, goodness. We're to the era now where it's, like, there's no terrible Sonic games left. There's arguably a terrible Sonic game left, but they're, like, things are better on average now, and that's pretty nice, because now it's Generations time, and Generations is, I think you can argue that Generations is still maybe the best Sonic game that there is in terms of play. I think I favor Colors slightly more because I think the theming, like just the art, the scenario, like the setting, like I think Colors is more fun as an idea, but Sonic Generations is pretty great. Like of all the Sonic games where I feel like I'm playing and I'm legitimately having some fun, and I would keep playing, and once I'm done getting footage for this, I'd actually play another level or two just for funsies. Sonic Generations is, like, the games that are up here in A tier are the only ones that I, like, ever would feel that sort of way about. Which I guess, in a way, makes me feel like I should almost bump Sonic Unleashed further up, but I'd only want to go back and play specific levels of Sonic Unleashed, which I think is why it's down here. But yeah, Generation's solid. Then, what came after Generations? Oh, that's when Sonic 4 Episode 2 came out, which by comparison makes me want to bump it even lower, but it's in D tier. That's where it should be. Sonic and the Lost World is also quite good, actually. Yeah, Sonic deserves to be a solid A tier game. Sonic Lost World. And maybe even better than Sonic 2, in my opinion. I think this is where a lot of people would... I wouldn't fault anyone for disagreeing with me thinking it's better than Sonic 2, but Sonic Lost World is some pretty good Sonic. Like, Sonic doesn't move as fast in Lost World, which makes him much easier to control. The influences they're taking from Mario Galaxy all generally work. It's got some fun visual style to it. The music is still great. Some levels are better than others, but it's got maybe the least jank of any Sonic game, of any 3D Sonic game I've ever played. It's like it is the most polished 3D Sonic has ever been, I think. The Sonic community is going to use this ranking as evidence that Dan is certifiably insane. No, that's fair. Like, I know the Sonic community will not love this list, but we already knew that my opinions probably don't overlap with people who would consider themselves members of the Sonic community on the quality of Sonic games. But I think Lost World is pretty solid. I'm trying to think back through levels just to make sure that there was not like some really miserable, not fun stuff in there that I'm forgetting. That should make it bump lower than 2. I'll tentatively say lower than 2. 2 deserves a lot of credit. But now I'm remembering frustrating levels in 2, so never mind. It stays. Okay. Next up. The heartbreak. Next up, Sonic Boom, which is like if Sonic Boom was allowed, like if the devs were allowed to finish it, I think Boom would live up here comfortably in B, and maybe even have potential to get up to A, but probably not. But because it is clearly not finished, I think it's like I'd sooner play it than the Rush games, honestly, or several of these others. Like, I would probably sooner, in terms of games I would rather go back and play, it's probably higher than most C tier games, but because it is very busted and such, I think it can only realistically live at the top of D tier play-wise. Sonic 06 and Sonic Boom are two Sonic games that were clearly not done, but that were pushed out the door anyway. Honestly, most Sonic games, especially the 3D ones, are like in some state of pushed out the door before it was probably as finished as they'd have liked it to be, but these are the two where you really feel it. Sonic 06 is at least like kind of funny in its failure, but it's also failing a lot more miserably. This one you can kind of see success inside it, but it's just being constantly wrecked by all the ways it's like breaking and tripping over itself, and this one just makes you sad. But the animation's really good, and it's like Amy is like finally gets to be more of a character. And I know a lot of people don't really like the redesigns, but they're so much easier looking to animate and way more expressive. And I kind of like Large Knuckles. I'm a fan. Now, that was a fair point. Even if Sonic 06 had been finished and released in a complete state, it probably would have still been kind of a disaster. Aesthetically speaking, it certainly would have been. And the play, it would have taken a lot to save that one. If both were finished, Sonic Boom would have been leagues beyond what Sonic 06 ended up being. But yeah. Sonic Boom just makes me sad. I've worked with somebody who animated on that one. I didn't know until after I made the video, and they told me, I was like, oh yeah, I worked on that one. And they told me later. They're a great animator. Like, if you ever need evidence, and you shouldn't need this, but if you ever need evidence that, like, hey, people, like, bad games can come from teams full of really super ultra talented people. Like, one of the people who was, like, animated on God of War Ragnarok also animated on Sonic Boom. And did great work in both of them, frankly. That's just how it goes sometimes. We're down to the last few here, people.
Yeah!
Are you hearing this good Sonic Colors music right now? It's so good. Have I ever animated on something I felt came out bad? Oh yeah. I've animated on things that are like, this is not to my tastes, or I think this, like, I've animated on like animated shorts that I feel like this isn't a very good, like, I don't think it's a very good story or short or anything. Or I've animated on like games that I feel like, this is not especially good, or this is pretty rough around the edges. I don't know if I've like, honestly, more often than not, I think in this profession, you are probably going to work like on things that you feel disappointed in the end. And maybe it's still a good thing, but you will still know like all the potential you had in mind for the thing, and or all the ideas that got left on the cutting room floor, or all the, like, you will be able to see what you wanted it to be, even if the end product is something that everyone sees as like, this rocks. But you will also like, you'll know all the compromises that had to be made to get there. That's just kind of how it goes. And like, honestly, making good movies or games is bonkers hard and pretty rare. Most games and movies and shows that come out aren't very good. So like, odds are good that you're going to be working on some stuff that just doesn't work out great lots of times. And that's okay, because even if you're working on things that don't turn out great, you can actually have a great working experience working on something that's like sucks. That's something I had like kind of had to learn. I assumed coming out of school, like going into like working on stuff, that if the movie, like if you have to do like animation or like visual effects on a movie that's terrible, boy, like working on it must have been terrible too. But then I like started talking to people who've been in the industry for a while, and they would say like, no, like that movie, that like sucky movie that I worked on, that's some of the most fun I've ever had animating on a film. Because like, it's all stuff that's more about like your workplace and behind the scenes stuff. Like, the team was really cool. I made a lot of great friends there. The director was like really open to like letting everyone bring their own creative input and ideas to the show. So like, we all got to kind of put more of like our own selves and our own ideas up on screen. We had a good time, even though the end result thing sucked. Like, it was pretty eye-opening, I feel like, when I learned that. Off topic, but have you ever put a game you worked on in one of your best animation videos? No, well, yes, but I've never put something I animated in. And I the one, like, generally as a rule, I don't put anything I've worked on in New Frame Plus, period. Just to maintain separation, and also because, like, I'm biased. I worked on the thing. But I did put a clip of Halo Infinite in one of the video years because I only worked on that for a little bit, and I think lots of the, like, I was putting that in because, like, I was impressed with the work of the people I was on the team with. Not, like, the work I did was fine, whatever, but, like, there are some great animators on that team. We probably aren't on that team anymore, and that bums me out. But, yeah, like, rip a lot of 343. I feel really bad for them. But, yeah, but generally, I will not put videos, or, like, unless there's a game that I, like, worked on that I feel like, yeah, this, like, me working on this game had nothing to do with it. The animation in this game rocks, and it deserves to be in the thing. Like, otherwise, no, I probably won't put anything that I worked on in one of the videos. I see too much impressive work from other people to feel like my animation work needs to be shown off in that list. The world is full of incredible animators on great teams making great things. There's so many other good teams and games to talk about. Needed some water. Okay. All right, we're down to the last three, people. How do you work these days? Do you come in on contracts or work for an agency? No, I'm working full time just at the studio now, and like lots of people do work kind of on more contract, kind of like job to job freelance bases, and for a lot of folks, like the industry shifts around enough, or interesting job opportunities come up frequently enough, and it's a small enough industry that people move around studio to studio, even just moving from full-time gig to full-time gig plenty of times. But yeah, like I'm lucky in that I've got a full-time gig going, and quite happy for that. It's nice having the stability. What happened to 343? They just got hit by some huge layoffs. Bethesda as well, I think. It's a shame. There's a lot, like, the tech industry at large is like having a massive, it's having a massive layoff run right now. Just like Facebook and Google and Amazon, and just like thousands and thousands and thousands. It's like the .com bubble all over again. It's rough. Yeah, like 150,000 people out of work in like the last 2 weeks in tech and games. It's bonkers. And, like, bad. So yeah, I feel lucky to have a full-time job right now, and I'm really hoping best of luck for all those people too, because boy, what a rough scene to have to be job hunting in. Anyway, sorry, that got very downers. Well, let's bring it back up. Because it's time for Sonic Mania, which I think is like, Sonic Mania is the game where I feel like I don't have an S tier here, and it's not even an S tier game for me. I actually rate this like up. Well, I'll call it a solid, like, A. I think I'd choose to play Colors or Generations before I play Mania, just because I like good 3D Sonic games better. But Mania is one where I feel like, for me, this is a B game that I, like, in my opinion, which if I'm judging objectively, I think has to be a high A to an S. Because it's really good. It's a very good Sonic game. Thanks for the Zote to lighten the mood. Yeah, perfect. Oh, thanks for subscribing, Zoacto. Welcome. Yeah, Mania good. If you are, well, here, we'll get to that in a second, because we only got 2 games left. Sonic Forces. I feel like the Sonic fan community rates Forces pretty low, and I think Sonic Forces deserves to be A tier with the rest of these. Yeah, no, I actually think it does. I think Sonic Forces deserves to be up here. Can't decide if I like it over Lost World or not, but it's silly, but like, Forces is pretty fun, I think. Forces is, like, as with all Sonic things, the story is bad. I got a lot of people in comments on my Sonic video, like, shocked that I would call Sonic Unleashed story bad. And if we're grading on the Sonic scale, sure, Sonic Unleashed is fine. If we're grading on the stories scale outside of Sonic World, it's all bad. None of them was without sin. Like, Sonic Colors is at least being funny. It's like Sonic Colors is maybe like one of the ones that is, and Lost World maybe a little bit by extension, are kind of trying to be comedies. And not all the jokes land, but like they're being goofy and silly. And that helps a lot. Sonic Forces is taking itself very seriously, which is funny in its own way. But it is just kind of fun to play. And also, have y'all heard the soundtrack to Forces? Forces soundtrack rules. It is intense and serious and melodramatic, but in the perfect, pitch perfect way to that nails Sonic melodrama. It is. Hang on. I'm pulling some of this up. We're listening to a Sonic Forces thing. Let me find a good one. I think this might be a good choice. I think. Have I got the right one? Yes. There's like a lot of Sonic Forces tracks that have lyrics and like vocals, and it's got like, this vibe is perfect for like serious or melodramatic Sonic sprinting through levels. Especially one that's got like the framing of we're a resistance movement fighting. Like, this is perfect.
Nah.
Like, legit, this rules. This is perfect for Sonic. Like, that is exactly right for this kind of Sonic game. And it's like bobbing your head to that kind of tune while you're sprinting through a Sonic level at high speed. Yeah, like it works. Sonic Forces is pretty fun. Silly. So silly. But fun. And that brings us finally to Frontiers, which I feel like we should change the music for. To something. I don't know. Here, we'll do this one. Like, the Sonic-y levels, and that's what kind of like I noted about the music in Frontiers. Like, it's pretty chill vibes a lot of the time, but as soon as it gets into like a more classic 3D Sonic lane-based sprint, it starts sounding a lot more Sonic Forces than before, which I like. Yeah, early 2000s anime vibes is actually that's a good call for it. Like, it's a little bit more modern production slightly, but it has that energy so strongly. That's a good descriptor. Hey, thank you for the 2 months, Rainier, and the 5 months, R2D2 fan. Hello, Blue Hedgehog, my old friend, quote unquote. Y'all are too kind. A hype train again, goodness. Sweethearts. Okay, Sonic Frontiers though. Legit, I'm shocked at this, but I think I'd rate Sonic Frontiers pretty darn high. Like, I think it's up there. And I would actually probably choose to play it over Mania, just because of just my personal preferences. Not that I necessarily think it's better than Mania. I still think there's a lot about Frontiers that is very jank, that is a sketch, like a good first pass. Sonic Frontiers feels like, and even looks like, a tech demo for like a polished game that to be made later. But I actually think Frontiers, I think what sold it on for me is like I played a little further in it after the 3 episodes I did on Playframe because I wanted footage for a video I want to make eventually. But I did start finding, like, especially as you start completing more things on a map and unlocking more of those rails to grind around on, like, as soon as you start being able to turn the open world landscape into more of a skate park for yourself, basically, the appeal of just running around at high speed through that open world, that actually does feel quite good. And just like going from rail to rail and freeform, choosing where you want to go in that same sort of like Tony Hawk game sort of way. Like it feels pretty good. Or are we still, hang on. Are we still like, what happened? Why are we zoomed in weirdly? I don't know why we're zoomed in weirdly. I'll fix it. There we go. Okay. Okay. Oh, we zoomed in weirdly because I added the last game. Okay, that's why. Gotcha. So let's take stock of this. Let me see if does anything feel like it needs to move. I'd consider bumping Adventure 2 further down. I think this is feeling pretty right. I feel like Sonic 06 should be at the top of F tier just as it's to merit its status as sort of like best of the worst type thing. That actually makes a kind of sense. I actually think that highlights its status in that way more. If you have to if you got to play a bad Sonic game and you're spoiled for choice, this is like of the worst. This is you'll have the most fun with this one, probably. If nostalgia comes into play, Adventure is your choice. Go with that one because you'll have the most nostalgia value fun with that one. And it's got its, like, goofy, weird charm. But, like, the existence of Big the Cat levels in this almost makes me want to just drop it, plummet it to the bottom of the list forever. But, yeah, you'll have the most fun with Sonic 06 stuff. Is Adventure in F tier for being very early 2000s 3D jank? It's not even down to the animation. I just think Adventure is, like, janky to play. I think it's janky to play. Its design is a mess on the whole. I think it's just a mess of a game that is not that is. I rarely have fun and feel like I'm having any kind of fun or anything even remotely approaching fun while playing Sonic Adventure. I think the only thing separating Sonic 06, as I said earlier, is like from Sonic Adventure is that Sonic Adventure has fewer bugs because it's closer to done, and Sonic 06 looks worse by like virtue of being on an HD console where janky stuff is much more visibly noticeable and you have like higher expectations. But otherwise, I don't think Sonic Adventure and Sonic 06 are actually that far apart as an experience. '06 is also just as much of a mess, but it is one that at least like is usually a mess in a funny way to where you can kind of have a good time laughing at the way things are breaking. Whereas in Sonic Adventure, it's just sort of like, it's not really funny. It's just sort of like, it just sort of makes you sigh when it's breaking. Well, Adventure doesn't have Chow Gardens, I don't think. I think Adventure 2 does. And Adventure 2 is higher up the list, even though I think it also can be frustrating and similar as to Sonic Adventure. Like, Sonic Adventure 2 does actually have a few good levels in it, though, and the Chow Garden thing is cool. Oh, they both have Chow Garden. Okay, cool. Neat. But yeah, I feel like this is a reasonable thing. So, to answer Yen and anybody else who's not played a Sonic game but is not sure where to start trying out, I feel like anything up here in A tier is a reasonable pick. But they're all quite different experiences. If you are wanting to try the experience of classic 2D Sonic, Sonic Mania is like no question. Grab Sonic Mania and try it out. It's a good old time. And I don't think you can do any better than that. If you are wanting to try 3D Sonic, I would say Generations or Colors is your best bet. You can also try Frontiers, but Frontiers is also a kind of a new weird thing. Whereas these two will give you a better glimpse of what like 3D Sonic and even a little bit of 2D Sonic to an extent has been. Generations is a great starting point, period. But if you're wanting kind of like the more purist classic pixel 2D, then Mania. And if you're wanting more like kind of the best of what 3D can be, Colors or Generations, I think is your way to go. And yes, it's for those who've joined in a little bit later on, there is no S tier, at least in terms of just like the play of the games or how fun they are, because just in my opinion, we have yet to see an S tier Sonic game. And honestly, if we were like adding other games in here, basically just take this whole list and squash it down to the top, so the top row is at a B, because like I personally just feel like most, even the best Sonic games are kind of like B level affairs. But within the Sonic curve, I feel like this is a pretty reasonable spread. Do I ever think about how weird it is that our letter grades skip from D to F? Yes, all the time. It's bizarre. I don't know why it works that way. Apparently, yeah, Carrie says she went to a school once where they did have E grades, which is like weird, but like good. Why do we all just decide E isn't like, I guess F is for failed specifically. Oh, okay. And S is like super. I don't know. The letter grades thing is weird anyway. But the fact that we skip E is odd. Thank you for the hydrate reminder a while back, Pirate Yarn. I'm going to do that now. And then we will shift over. Because now we're going to, after this now we're going to talk about ranking these in terms of animation, which is going to be a pretty different list. Some of these that are sitting pretty up high are going to get bumped down a bit. Well, not a lot of them, but some of them. And some of them that are way down low right now are going to shoot up the list. And we'll actually have an S tier this time, because I think that that's only fair. Here, let me switch it over. I will switch it over to the other. Just getting the window all framed right. I gotta make more room. There's an actual S tier this time. Okay. Now, for the second portion of our ranking today. Thank you, by the way, for the 2 months, Tommy Dude. Sorry, I almost missed that. And for the gifted sub earlier, Reka. Now we're going to talk about Sonic games in terms of animation. And if you've not seen it already, I have talked about this before. I have made a video a couple of years ago at this point about the animation in Sonic games. That's the title of it. It's on YouTube. And I talked about all this pretty extensively for an hour and 45 minutes. We're not going to take that long this time, because I've talked about a lot of it before. So we'll be able to move a little bit faster. But another game has come out that we've not ranked in this yet. So that's not included in that video. So let's start doing this. Sonic 1, in this case, I think gets bumped up a good bit higher. I'm actually tempted to call Sonic 1 S rank, because okay, so that's worth kind of pointing out. I'll leave it down here for the second. When we're talking about the quality of the games and how fun they are, that's a thing where I'm kind of ranking all of them on how fun they are to play now compared to each other. If we're ranking animation, though, we need to take kind of the context and their limitations and all those factors into account. So, like that is, I think, necessary for judging the quality of animation. So, I think Sonic 1 is we're gonna call this a high A. Sonic 1 is a very strong start. Super expressive. Like, way more expressive than Mario would be in any of his games for a long time. And that is an axis or like a metric by which Sonic games did beat out Mario games handily for a good long time. So like, and here's the Sonicest music ever. Enjoy. Okay. So yeah, Sonic 1, very strong. Sonic 1 for the Game Gear is also, for what it is, like, considering its limitations, I think Sonic 1 for the Game Gear is also pretty impressive. Like, how much they managed to preserve, despite having to take, like, animation from a 16-bit game and scale it back to an 8-bit handheld and make that work. Like, pretty impressive. Same for Sonic 2 on Game Gear. Why can I never find the art for this one in the sea of... Here we go. It's better, honestly. It's better than the stuff in the first attempt, because this one actually is able to add in, like, some of the... Like, it adds some more stuff in. It adds the angled... like, anytime Sonic goes through a loop-the-loop, the fact that he actually kind of, like, is still doing his run cycle, but it's actually flipping upside down and stuff like that, which they had to make new sprites for back then, because they, like, none of this old hardware could rotate sprites. You just had to have new sprites that had the character rotated. Why isn't it showing the name of this song? I don't know. It's called Escape from the City. It's from Sonic Adventure 2. And easily the best level in that game. But yeah, so that, like, very solid animation so far. And then we've got Sonic 2 for the... No, we did that one already. Now we've got Sonic 2, the one everyone actually is talking about, which is real strong. Again, like, very strong animation in Sonic 2. Like, takes everything good about Sonic 1, improves it, adds that great spin dash, like, peel out thing, which is awesome. Well, we're getting a lot of the good music here, aren't we? But yeah, Sonic 2, the good one is, yeah, really solid animation. And yeah, another good thing in Sonic 2 for the Game Gear's favor, like, it adds Tails in before Tails was even introduced in this one. And, like, the incarnation of Tails in that... Oh, wait, was Tails not until Sonic Chaos? I can't remember. Whenever they add Tails in... oh no, this is where we got the first sighting of Tails. Tails is playable in Sonic Chaos. That's what I remember now. Okay. Yeah, Sonic 2, both solid, strong. Sonic CD is... Actually, I'd rate it a little bit worse than Sonic 1. Not across the board. There are some additions in Sonic CD that are really good. Like that super peel out where, like, his feet turn into like a infinity figure 8 type thing is so cool looking. I love that. But we do lose the good spin dash that Sonic 2 has, and also the run is worse. Like, I get into more detail about that in the video, but the run is worse. That, like, there's no up and down bob to Sonic's run in Sonic CD. They removed that. I think they just applied the sprites incorrectly, and it just kind of looks flat and a lot more bland. The Sonic CD does have a neat little animated intro by Toei, which is kind of, like, cool as a little gimmick thing, and pretty cute, honestly, like a cute little animated intro. But in terms of, like, the quality of the animation quality of the game, I don't really, like, rate that, like, factor that in too strongly. Aaron's Engineer, if you're not... Why am I typing? Or why am I talking if you can't hear me? If you're ever having sound issues, try doing a reset. Or, like, just a refresh of the page. Dan, I just want to say I admire how much effort you put into your content and that you also hold it to such high standards. From the point of a viewer, I really don't think you have to do this, but you know best. Thank you for what you do. You and Katamari on the holidays helped me through some bad days. I'm very glad that it was helpful, and thank you for the kind words. It's really nice of you. Oh, the stream had frozen. That's why you weren't hearing me anymore. Okay. Why are track titles not appearing in our little mini player anymore? It's confusing me. What if I like click next track or something? Come on. Okay, now it's appearing. Okay, cool. All right. So that's Sonic CD. Sonic Chaos, the next Game Gear 1, which is hard to find. There you are. Is, yeah, another slight improvement over Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Game Gear. This one has playable Tails, who is remarkably faithful to the 16-bit version of Tails in Sonic 2. Quite impressive. Like, I think none of these Game Gear games are fun to play. We already did that list earlier. They all live down here in the, like, F tier, D at best. But the fact that the animation manages to recapture anything of the feel of the 16-bit games on a little 8-bit handheld, it still impresses me, honestly. Sonic 3 is... I'm torn. Like, this one, it's not as good as Sonic 2, I don't think. I think Sonic 2, it adds more, but I think some of the added stuff is a little bit more mixed in quality. We'll keep it at a low S for now. It and Sonic and Knuckles both. But I feel like, yeah, I should change the name of the stream to, like, specify we're talking about animation now. Let me do that real fast. I will now rank the animation in the Sonic games. There we go. Got it. Yeah, that's... You're exactly right, Death Platypus. It's the idle fidget animation in Sonic 3 that's really sticking in my craw. Like, there are other poses and, like, aspects of the animation in Sonic 3 that I think are just slightly worse than in 2 a little bit. And I think the slight redesign of Sonic in 3, I like it slightly less. Sonic Adventure, I can't handle this right now. That's better. Okay. What was I talking about? But yeah, that idle fidget in Sonic 3 is not good. Especially compared to, like, both Sonic 2 and Sonic CD had different ones, but better ones. And it does amuse me how many people over the years have shown up in the comments telling me with certainty what Sonic 3 is, like, what Sonic's idle fidget is, like, what he's doing in those sprites, but they're all telling me different things. It's not very good. Most people seem to agree that it is a finger snap, but if that's the case, that's not a good finger snap animation, and it should probably come with a sound effect. Like, if you want him to do a snapping, like a sound-based gesture in his, like, idle fidget, you should add a sound. Because if it had a sound, it still wouldn't be a great animation, because, like, visually it could be clearer, but at least it would be way more clear what it is. But yeah, I think 2 is a bigger triumph. 3 expands and adds more, and a lot of what 3 adds and expands on is good. So I think they're pretty neck and neck, but... Yeah, okay, so it's March 4th of 2021 is when that video came out, so we're not quite to 2 years yet. Just a little bit under. All right, after Sonic 3 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles came Triple Trouble, which is... like, it's up here in this ballpark with all these others, like, fine. Like, pretty solid. They're they're really making that Game Gear work, and that's impressive, and they deserve kudos for it. Knuckles Chaotix is, I'd say this is S tier, actually. Yeah, Knuckles, like, to play, no. Animation-wise, the characterization is very strong. And the functional, like, the animation manages to make the really weird tether mechanic, like, it serves that mechanic well. It communicates it with your character's arm being able to, like, being a separate sprite on the body that can point in any one of the directions at wherever your partner is, and the animations conveying the physicality of the two different characters moving in different directions and the physics of that, and every character having completely different animation that communicates their personality, even though they're all doing the same things. Like, it's Knuckles Chaotix animation is great. I don't recommend playing it. Good animation though. Let's see. Does Knuckles put Sonic and Knuckles behind 3? I feel like they're kind of equivalent. Honestly, I should just have not even done Sonic 3 by itself. I should just grab Sonic and Knuckles because it kind of represents all of them. But it's really just adding more things. So if anything, yeah, we should like bump it a little bit ahead because it's this plus a little extra and some more good stuff. So yeah, I'm up for that. And Knuckles' stuff in Sonic 3 is great. What's the song in that? What was this song in the animation vid? This is the track this is from Sonic 2006, and this is the track I used when starting to talk about Sonic 06. And it is a pretty fun track, honestly. Despite everything, even Sonic 06 has got some good tunes too. What was the other like song that had like vocals in it from 06, like Silver's theme or whatever? That one actually is pretty great too. Dreams of an Absolution, I think is what it's called. Yeah, that one's catchy. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that is it. Okay, cool. Look at how highly rated all this stuff is so far. Isn't this? Look how positive. Look how nice I'm being. I mean, it deserves it, but still. And yeah, of course I had to say that, because now we're up to Sonic Blast, which, again, this is the worst animated Sonic game that has ever been made. I can't say enough negative things about Sonic Blast. Not about the people who made it, just about the game itself. Sonic Blast is awful. Sorry, getting a sip of water. Yeah, but I'm still baffled at the choice to listen. Okay, so the next one after this is Sonic 3D Blast, which is also very bad, but like I could see maybe bumping this up to a D for function. Nope. No, it's also very bad, but like if there was lower than F, that's where Sonic Blast would go, because here, we'll put this D here, but it's getting bumped down later probably. Because 3D Blast, there is a reason why Sonic is a 3D model in that game. And it makes sense, because it is a game that is from an isometric perspective, and it is trying to convey Sonic moving in 3 dimensions, so you need him to be able to run in at least 8 different angled directions and have that sort of work and have him look like a 3D character, right? So that's like, there is a reason, like you could hand do all of those sprites, and you probably should have because it would have looked better, but it makes sense to instead create a 3D model and do the Donkey Kong Country approach, kind of like rendering it out and compressing those rendered images down into sprites. The problem is the animation is still quite bad. The posing is real, like all the appeal is gone. Whoever is doing the animation of that 3D model, it's just not good 3D animation that is getting compressed down 2 pixels. The posing is bad, it's unclear, it doesn't have good physicality, it doesn't have appeal at all, like Sonic's eye, like, it's all the same stuff I've said in the video. It's just like all of the appeal of Sonic as a character that his 2D design had is just, like, sapped away in 3D Blast form. But at least 3D Blast has a reason to look like this. Sonic Blast does not. This is just a standard 2D Sonic game that inexplicably uses this like rendered out 3D model. So basically all of the posing and appeal that the 2D sprites had is just gone for no reason. Terrible. Okay. Now we are up to Sonic Adventure, which is also terrible. This is... All right, this does need to be down here because it needs to be beneath Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure is better than this. Just not by much. No, okay, no, actually, I need to bump this up to D because there are... The gameplay stuff in Sonic Adventure is actually okay. It's, like, rough around the edges still, but pretty good. Which game was it that introduced the water guy? Like the water villain? That's Sonic Adventure. That's the one. But yeah, gameplay stuff in Sonic Adventure is okay. And some of it's actually like pretty darned effective. The highest speed run in Sonic Adventure looks better than the highest speed run in any 3D Sonic game would look until Sonic Unleashed. Which is kind of sad, but it's like solid. Is Sonic Adventure the one where he bobs up and down so much that he blurs? Nope, that's Sonic Adventure 2, which is worse. Sonic Adventure 2's animation is bad across the board. The only thing that is better in Sonic Adventure 2 over Sonic Adventure 1 is that in the cutscenes, more of the... In the ones that are hand animated, in more of the cutscenes, the physical animated performances, and especially the faces, are better. They aren't just having the face features flap randomly as a talking animation, which looked comically bad in the first one. The problem is that everything else looks comically bad and worse than Sonic Adventure 1. The gameplay animation on Sonic is worse across the board. The cutscene stuff, this is when they started using motion capture for a lot of the cutscenes, which looks absolutely terrible in Sonic Adventure 2. And like, again, I made this point in the video. Sonic Adventure 1 came out like on the Dreamcast when all of their competitors were still games on the N64 and the PS1. And so like, its animation's not really much better than a PS1 or a Nintendo 64 game. And honestly, like Mario 64 has better animation than this, but it's like, it holds up better by comparison. By the time Sonic Adventure 2 came out, there were a lot of games that had great 3D animation in them. So like the age of the game doesn't get it any points anymore. In fact, they're like points against it. What are some of the games that have come out the same year as this one? Like Dead or Alive 2, Smash Brothers Melee, Metal Gear Solid 2, Final Fantasy X, like some good animation games. And then you got Sonic Adventure 2. It's rough. Sonic Advance, though, pretty darn solid. Actually, we're gonna need to make some more room. I'm getting too swingy here. Game Gear games, y'all are gonna have to move down here. Because you're impressive for what you are, but it still is like, it is what it is. Sonic Advance good, though. Did they reuse the sprites for all the Advance games? I think they reused some, but I think there are some subtle differences in these sprites. So I will be putting all of them kind of in the same range here. Just go ahead and kind of as a bunch. But yeah, Sonic Advance animation is pretty darn strong. Like, I don't like Sonic's run animations. I think those sprites are a little weak, but it's way better than the stuff that was coming out in 3D at the time. It is it's got far more character to it. There are multiple characters who do all feel a little bit different and have like some appeal and character to them. It is definitely way better than anything that was happening in the main 3D games at this point, by a pretty wide margin. Now, Sonic Heroes is... Where are you? You're down here somewhere. You can't hide from me. Heroes? Oh, there you are. Okay, found you. Sonic Heroes is... This is still like a D. Gameplay is a little better. Cutscenes are like a little better. They are better than Sonic Adventure. Like, this is better. You could even argue a low C, I think, on this. But Sonic Heroes animation's not great. Oh, hey, Dan, welcome. We're talking Sonic and being kind of mean about it. Or at least meaner than I usually allow myself to go. Is the ability to make good animations limited a lot by the hardware of the system console, like with graphics? It can be, for sure. Like, hardware limitations are always a tricky thing, and every game has to sort of like work around that. But it is not the single defining thing. Like, lots of your choices, like your art design choices, and even just like the quality of animation you can deliver make a big difference. Again, like Mario 64 has great animation in it, despite being like as early as it was. Mario 64 came out before any of these other 3D Sonic games, and that animation still holds up. It's like shockingly, I actually can't believe it's still that good. They've done better. Like Mario Odyssey blows it out of the water, but for the time, holy cow, Mario 64 is really good. But yeah, like hardware limitations do limit what you can do. Like Mario 64 is like sort of full body, like running and jumping, and all the traversal animation is pretty solid, but he doesn't really have, like, his face can't do a whole lot because it's like a texture. There's limitations there in what they can do and keep it like rendering in real time and all that. And there's still limitations to what we can do. There's like far fewer of them, but we still got to fight with limitations to keep things actually running at 30 frames a second or higher. But yeah, that is something that makes game animation hard, and I would argue a little harder than film animation, is that you do have to actually like make it work in a game. There's a lot of other factors you have to like factor in when making it beyond just making it look as good as possible. Are there any poorly designed characters in the Sonic franchise? Absolutely, yes. I think honestly, like Sonic himself has had a lot of different designs in the Sonic franchise, and I think a lot of them have been pretty rough. Some are better than others, though. I think, like, Sonic's, like, if we just go from, like, if we just sort of average all of Sonic's character designs kind of down to just, like, the core idea of what Sonic looks like, I think Sonic's design is good. Like, as a cute character design, like, well-made. And certain games, like, the animation in certain games really make the most out of that design. And the ones that like are up here in the S tier are ones that I think actually do thrive at that. It is possible I'm going to end up moving all of these three down to A tier, and we'll squash things a little bit more because like it may be, oh, we'll find out. But there are definitely iterations of these character designs that make good animation much harder to do. Borderline impossible. And Sonic Heroes is one of these that like suffer from it. This is at a point where the characters' hands and feet were like the proportions of their body were really wacky, and in a way that you could make a fun 2D drawing of, but getting that to work on a 3D character model and being able to do like appealing poses and stuff was really hard. And I think that the designs of these characters was becoming unanimatable. Like I don't know if you could make appealing 3D animation with those character models the way they were being created. It's hard, man. 3D is challenging. Next, though, is Shadow the Hedgehog, which, against all odds, is a solid B. If maybe we'll say low A, but again, we're gonna need to squash some of this down. But animation in Shadow the Hedgehog, pretty solid. All right, I'm rating that a little bit too highly, but quite solid. Like Shadow's gameplay animation is actually is the best of any early 3D Sonic by far. Like his locomotion, his skating around, his jumps, his gameplay animation is actually quite good. A lot of the other character animation in gameplay is really mediocre at best, but Shadow's is pretty darn good. And the pre-rendered cinematics look really good too, because Blur Studios did great work with those. That amusingly, the somebody who was at Blur at the time who worked on those like showed up in comments on the Sonic video, sort of just mentioning a little bit, talking a little bit about production and stuff, which was really cool. But yeah, weirdly, like, not a great game and just comical as a concept, but pretty good animation though. Sonic Rush, also okay. You know, solid B. Solid B. Like, we've got a very simple 3D Sonic model here for Sonic Rush, but it works pretty well. I think it works reasonably well. It's kind of like a Sonic Adventure level of quality on the 3D model, but they're getting a comparable level of like gameplay animation appeal out of it, I think. It's nothing incredible, but it's all right. Where's Sonic Rush Adventure? Because that's kind of the same ballpark, roughly. Yeah, I'll just kind of side by side them here. Then there's Sonic 06, which is also very bad. Better than Sonic... Well, is it better than Sonic Adventure 2? Is it? No, it's not. It's actually a little worse. It's a little worse than Sonic Adventure 2. Especially, again, considering the context of its time. Not good. Quite bad. How many games till we get a game in C tier? Yeah, I feel like this is where, like, that's where I'm kind of feeling like, maybe I'm, like, I need to squash this down a little bit. We might be overloading A and B a bit here, or overinflating what some of these should be getting. Or we just didn't need this many tiers. Could get rid of D or something. Sonic Unleashed. Quite good. Okay, yeah, Sonic Unleashed is going up here to... All right, we need to do a resorting, because, yeah, this is getting out of hand. I think everything in B tier needs to get moved down to solid C for the most part. And we need to squash down a little bit. It's hard to do, though, because, like, this is getting some, like... Getting these redistributed is a little tricky. Sonic Unleashed, though, is a big step up. It's not full S tier, because they've had better. But it's pretty far up there. Yeah, I feel like we're doing all right here. We're doing okay. We still pretty empty down here. We should start moving some down. I'll even move Sonic CD down there as well. But we're gonna need a little bit more room up top here, because there is some more here. See, like, we should get we should get this composer to do more to do more Sonic soundtracks. It works pretty well. Sonic and the Secret Rings is also not especially good. It's like functional, but nothing great. Is this just straight up a Jet Set Radio track? Maybe it is. I don't think, well, actually, I think this one might be. I think it was a track that was pulled from Jet Set Radio. Like, it is that same composer either way, but I think this one might legit just be a Jet Set Radio soundtrack track that they pulled in for Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed. But the Sonic Rush, which was composed by the same, like, composer, sounds just like this. All right. Who's up next? Sonic Unleashed we did already. Sonic and the Black Knight is also bad. Worse than Secret Rings because of the sword and how the sword, like, the animation use of the sword is just a negative across the board. Who is up next? Sonic 4 Episode 1 is very F tier. Very much. And even... I'm rating this even lower than Sonic 06 because, like, 2D was a solved problem. 2D Sonic was a solved problem by this point. Like, this, they were still trying to figure things out, and it shouldn't have taken as long to figure things out by the time we were at Sonic 06 and beyond, but, like, it was a hard problem. This isn't, and it's still a mess, and it makes me sad. Sonic Lost World, though, is animation-wise, like, absolutely S tier. It is still maybe the most polished Sonic animation. Yeah, this is the most polished 3D Sonic animation we've ever seen. Oh, wait, I skipped ahead here. Hang on, I skipped way ahead. Yep, you're right. Colors is next. And Colors is also good. Not that as good as that, quite. But Sonic Colors animation, right up there with Unleashed. It's very good. Yeah, thank you for catching that. I skipped like 3 or 4 games ahead there. That was way off. Can we get a stream where we just talk about game soundtracks at some point? Oh boy, I could talk game soundtracks for a long time. So, sure. I'm down for it. All right. Man, Sonic music is good, huh? It's good stuff, man. Okay, all right, who's up next? Why, it's Generations. Which is also very good. Like, it's still A tier, definitely not S. But it is solid. I might actually even rate it below Colors. I think it ties with Colors. Like, I want to take points away because I think the cutscene animation on Sonic is worse than in characters is worse than in Colors and Unleashed. Actually, they're both of these are a little worse than Unleashed. Well, Colors is a little better. But the addition of classic Retro Sonic, like classic Retro Sonic works, and they make, like, it really just puts Sonic 4 to shame that, like, all right, well, this is a literal 3D model that looks more like and more in the spirit of classic Sonic than these sprites. It's Sonic Generations, solid. It's pretty, like, cutscenes, not especially, but gameplay, good. Thank you, Yeti, for the compliment there. Just got done with the animation of History of Sonic. I can see why it's used as a reference. Very good work there, sir. I think that is real kind of you. Thank you. Glad you enjoyed. And thank you for the 5 months, Regin. I've definitely missed some of y'all. Where does Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine fall? I am not sure. I mean, that one's a spin-off for sure, right? I've included a couple of kind of arguably spin-offs in this. But that one's definitely spin-off territory. All right, gonna do a quick stretch and hydrate, as I've been reminded. Okay. Now, to their credit, Sonic 4 Episode 2 makes some improvements and is better. Like, it is better than the first part. Not wildly. So, like, it's still camping out in the middle of D tier, I think. I think aesthetically the game is still just kind of a mess in general, but the animation problems that Episode 1 had are at least improved a bit. I'll give him that one. So listen to that. So like, Sonic 06 at least has some good points going for it in the music department. Catchy. All right. Now Lost World's turn to be the most polished thing. Yeah, I'll put it up here, because frankly, this is harder than what Sonic 2 has to do. Sonic 2 is a triumph of its time, and Sonic Lost World is the most polished stuff. I guess some of the cutscene animation is, you know, it's all right. It's fine. It's for a Sonic game. We're still judging kind of on the Sonic scale here, because as soon as we get out of Sonic territory, what I would call an S game gets squashed down to an A or B, probably. Because if like I start comparing this to just some stuff that would really make it in a best game of animation of any given year or whatever, like it's hard for Sonic to compete in that realm. But on the Sonic scale, absolutely, this is the best 3D, the most polished 3D Sonic. All right, thank you for the 5 months there, Shakal Draconis. Now, and this is what, yeah, see, here's where, in the previous listing, when we were talking about just based on quality of the game and how fun they are, Sonic Boom, pretty low. If we're talking animation, it's some of the best 3D Sonic animation. Just period. It's really good. If this game, honestly, I might put it higher than this. Yeah, actually I do. Because while this is more polished, the animation isn't really what breaks in Sonic Boom. It's just the game, it doesn't run well and is buggy. But the animation looks good and has more flair and more character, and like the cutscene performances are way better. I think this Sonic Lost World is the most polished 3D Sonic has ever looked. Sonic Boom is the best animation 3D Sonic has ever had. Polished animation at 20 FPS is still polished? Yeah, because like the frame rate that the game is running at is not an animation problem. That's a technical, that's a engineering, that's an optimization problem. It's a tech art problem, effectively. The animation like still runs well. Like, it's a game that doesn't run very well will like affect my rating in various things. Like the reason why I've included other 3D Pokemon games in some of those end of the year videos, but not Scarlet and Violet, is because the tech issues do really make it kind of hard to like to praise the animation in this particular game. It's too big of a caveat. It's also why Cyberpunk didn't show up in previous years. Because like some of the bugs that Cyberpunk had were animation ones, so the animation itself was breaking more often. But like in Sonic Boom, it's not the animation that's breaking, it's the rest. And the animation looks great. How much do you have to consider frame rate when animating in 3D? Obviously, it's important in 2D, but you have to think about it in 3D as well. A bit. Like, it may impact how you polish certain kinds of moments, because animation that looks... A quick motion that looks really sharp and punchy at 30 FPS might feel softer at 60, because your eye is getting more frame data there. So you might need to really like tighten up how sharp a movement happens at 60 to make it maintain that sharp punchiness. But that's getting into like some real polish level stuff though. If you're expecting the game to run at a lower frame rate, you might, especially in a stylized thing, you might opt to do some more stylish stuff. You doing sort of like smear type things, or exaggerating in certain ways to make something feel a little smoother in 3D. Like something that I like that in Sonic Adventure that they did in gameplay, which is why it's up here in D tier, not in F, is that with Sonic's run, like his feet are really stretched in kind of smear framey sort of ways when he's running, which helps helps them to feel a little less stroby at high speed. It's like it's a really good touch that makes a Sonic in Sonic Adventure running at high speed look better. Have I seen Pizza Tower? I have not seen Pizza Tower yet. I've heard various people mentioning it, though. So I need to look into it, I guess. But I've not yet seen Pizza Tower. That one just came out, yeah? Okay. What is next? We've got a few left. We're down to 3 again. So, Sonic Mania is easily a comfy S tier as well. It's just all the good stuff about Sonic 2 and 3, and just with more polish and a lot more character. To the point that I'm actually even tempted to, yeah, I'm bumping that over above Lost World. The character added here, on top of the polish, just really pushes it over the edge. Sonic Mania, it's like, excellent. Sonic Forces animation is okay. It just sort of lives in... It lives kind of comfy-ish in A tier, because it's basically all the same animation as this other stuff, with a few random subtractions. Like the cutscene animation is still not particularly great, or it's like fine on the same tier as a lot of this stuff. Gameplay has lost a few random things, like he doesn't have... Sonic has only sort of one little like stunt pose after sort of bash attacking an enemy, where in previous games he'd had more. He's also missing an idle fidget, which in Sonic Forces doesn't bother me. That's a thing that... Okay, so a lot of people showed up in comments saying that they can't believe that I didn't mention that Sonic Forces, Sonic doesn't have an idle fidget if you leave him standing for a while. Which, like, fair. Like, that's a pretty classic Sonic thing, and it's weird for them to not include it. Although, I mean, he doesn't have an idle fidget in Sonic Advance 2 either. No one complained about that. But, like, also, especially in the game Sonic Forces, you don't really need one, because all of the levels are track levels where you have no reason to stop and stand around for a prolonged period of time, ever. You don't have an open like world that you can wander around in to stop and idle in like you do in Unleashed. So you like there's where it would make more sense to idle. Like there's really no reason to stop and have an idle. The animation isn't necessary. Like, yeah, it's nice having it in there, but you don't need it. It seemed like a complaint that I'm guessing some Sonic YouTuber made early on when they were looking for reasons to say Forces sucked, and then the rest of the community like latched onto that and then just kind of kept parroting that around as a reason Sonic Forces animation is bad. Every now and then I'll just start seeing comments about a really specific complaint about some game that a lot of people all say in the comments of some video, and that's usually my clue that some other YouTuber complained about this somewhere. And because I don't think, in fact, I know all of these people did not notice that little nitpick, that little nitpick independently. There's no way. It's the same with Pokemon fans and complaining about stuff in comments. It's usually stuff that they've heard other people complain about or point out to them. It's the same as when, so not too long after the Sonic animation video came out, somebody made a video pointing out that there's actually a frame of animation in Sonic 2, a ledge teeter frame like of animation that no one's noted or pointed out before, which like they called like a fourth ledge teeter animation. I think it was meant to be a transition, like in between pose between two other ones that just doesn't happen to trigger very often because of just the way it was set up. But as soon as that video came out, there were just so many people showing up in comments of the Sonic video saying about the ledge teeter pose I missed, or pointing out there's actually 4 of them just coming into well actually based off something they heard someone else on the internet say. Comments are predictable sometimes. Okay, but now we are to Sonic Frontiers. Where in this does Sonic Frontiers belong? Let me think. This is actually hard to say. I feel like I actually retroactively, I want to bring Sonic 3 and Knuckles kind of like down here because I think 2 is better. And Chaotix, like, you know, Chaotix is like animate, like, again, all of the problems are with the game. The animation's great. I feel like Frontiers belongs in A as well. There are... Yeah, no, Sonic Frontiers belongs in A. It is about on the same tier as Generations, Colors, and Forces. There are some things that are improvements. The cutscene moments where like you'll get Sonic talking with like one of the friends are slightly improved, and the reasons for those improvements are that there is a bit more expressiveness in the face, and there's actually a lot more detailed posing with the hands and fingers. That's something that most of these games have so often flubbed or not really taken advantage of, which really makes like is a real downside for Sonic, because they've often made, at least for 3D Sonic, they've made his hands so huge that having them just be these big mitts that he's not really like posing, they become really noticeable, and it just drags the feeling of quality down across the board. But in a lot of little moments, there is a lot more like hand and finger specificity with the posing in Sonic Frontiers, and that adds a lot. So like that attention they put there is very helpful. But it's still like polish-wise though, it's really not bringing a whole lot more beyond Generation. The combat, like fighting and attacks and stuff, some of those look really nice, but then a lot of other stuff looks just kind of okay. It is not as polished looking as Lost World, and it does not have the level of like animation quality and appeal that Boom has. But it is an improvement over some of the stuff that came before though. And yeah, I'm curious to see what DLC updates for Frontiers add, or if they do follow-up sequels that kind of continue down this open world idea. I'd be curious to see what more happens there. And they did remove the squash and stretch from the jump ball thing, again, just to spite me. I was so sure they were going to, after Lost World, where it looked great. But they kept it for Forces. So I thought we had a fighting chance. But then they removed it. But yeah, I think there's our rating for there's our rating for animation. So how's this feeling? Let me think here. Is this feeling reasonable? I think this is feeling pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is feeling about right. Yeah, no, that's it's true. This is definitely the only time you will see Sonic Boom at the S tier ranking. And I think that's fair, because it is... I mean, it's unfinished. It technically does not run well. It's full of bugs, and the play is kind of bland. It probably would have been better if they'd had more time to actually finish it and polish it more, but it's pretty rough. But, like, this is definitely the specific kind of category of ranking where it does shine. Its animation is good. It's just the rest that's rough. Well, I hope you all have enjoyed this silly little exercise. It definitely was nice for me being able to... I think this was good for me being able to rank Sonic games, but also be able to just talk about the games, the quality of the games themselves, and not having it sort of couched in the more animation discussion. Felt good to be able to more fully express my negative feelings about some of these. So thank you for giving me a space to vent. Or praise the games that deserved it. Because some of these do. Need to go back and watch from the beginning. Yeah, well, the VOD here on Twitch should be up pretty immediately after I'm done. And for those of you who watch the VODs on YouTube later, that should be up in a day or so. But yeah, let's go ahead and start winding down a little bit. What say? I think it's high time for that. Roll credits and everything. Yeah, Lost World's got some good music too. They all do. Mostly. That's actually another place where I think Boom lags behind a bit. Like, it's not bad music, but it is much more kind of generic, bland, sort of orchestral stuff. It's catchy, but it sounds really nice, but it is not nearly as memorable. Any idea when I'll get back to Final Fantasy V? Pretty soon-ish is the hope. I've been pretty busy lately, so I've not had a chance to, I don't want to sit down for just an hour and a half long Final Fantasy V stream. That doesn't let you get anywhere. I want to be able to give it some actual time, but things have been busy, and we might have to it's probably going to be very busy for the next month. So I might wait for a little bit and just do some simpler streams until I'm kind of things are back and stable and consistent again. So that I can actually sit down and be able to concentrate and not have to re-remember what I was doing last time over and over. But it's okay, I've got other animation videos that I need to make first before I can get to that Final Fantasy V one anyway. Is there eventually going to be a Final Fantasy VII stream? I would do some of that. We probably won't do the whole entirety of the game like we're going to do with 5 and 6, because I don't need the footage for it in the same way. But it'd be fun doing some streams for the Final Fantasies as I'm getting to them in the animation series. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining. Thank you for the resubscribe there, for the 2 months, Rhymes with Moose, and the 3 months, Rebels Without Applause. I almost never catch these live, but cheers for 3 months. Love this channel so much, and thanks for the Final Fantasy XIV tips on the Patreon stream. You bet. I hope they helped. Hope you're enjoying. A Hi-Fi Rush stream. I might not do a stream of it, but we'll definitely do a one-off of it on Playframe. Because, yeah, what a cool-looking game. You highly recommend the GBA Fire Emblems if I ever want to check out their animations. They have some really cool 2D pixel art. I've heard that. Yeah, I really should go back and look at some more of these. Look at the older Fire Emblems one of these days. There's quite a few of them. But thank you all again for joining me. Hang on, let's see who all is on. Ooh, looks like the Loading Ready Run folks are doing a checkpoint stream right now. I'm talking game news. And they're good folks to spend a chill Sunday with. I'll hand y'all off to them. So you all go say hi to the Loading Ready Run folks from me. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you for joining again. And I'll see y'all on Wednesday, probably. Scheduling permitting, for something else. And on Playframe, every day, but you probably knew that. Anyway, y'all have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!